Hi there, flat towers. Today we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install Roadmaster's diode wiring kit on your 2020 Chevrolet Colorado. The big difference between these kits though is the umbilical cord that comes with it. You're either going to receive a straight cable with them, which is ideal if you have a tow bar that has channels in it so you can run that cable through those channels. There's also a kit with a coily umbilical cable, and that's ideal if you don't have any channels because that coil is going to keep your cable up off the pavement so it doesn't hang down. That's just going to give you that tension from the coils. Diode wiring is going to take all the lighting signals from your motorhome and transfer them to the lights here at the back of the vehicle so people behind you will know your intentions when going down the road. This will also keep you DOT compliant in all states, keeping your family safe and legal. You can see here we've got the hazard lights turned on our motorhome, and the lights on our motorhome are being mimicked directly back here on the lights on the vehicle. This is going to include your left turn signal, right turn signal, tail lamps and brake lamps, and our hazard lights fall under that, being both the turn signals for both sides. And you can see here that we've got both of the lights operating on our Colorado. The diodes can be installed behind the tail light assemblies, or underneath there's a connector, and it will go in line between the turn and tail light signals. And the purpose of our diodes is to act as a one-way check valve. It will allow current flow from our motorhome to illuminate our lights, but it won't let that flow of current coming from the motorhome backfeed into the rest of the electrical system on our Colorado, so we can ensure we don't have any wiring issues that can occur there. We're going to have 2 diodes per side that you'll install, and you'll receive all the wiring that you'll need with the kit to hook everything up. There are a few different versions of this kit available that will come with different umbilical cables and connector ends. The most common end is going to be a 6-pole connector, but there are also kits that come with a 4-pole connector. I highly recommend that you get the 6-pole connector kit so you can add additional accessories to it, as the 4-pole connector is only going to provide you with your lighting signals. Here you can see our 6-pole connector at the front. It does come with a bracket so you can get it mounted up, although in most cases your base plate's going to have a mounting location on it. But it is nice that they include it because not all base plates do come with that connection. There's 5 main components you'll need when flat towing your vehicle behind your motorhome. You'll need your base plate, which is the connection point for your tow bar. You'll need your tow bar, which is the connection between your motorhome and your vehicle. Your safety cables, which is a supplemental connection in addition to your tow bar. Your diode wiring, which takes all the lighting signals from your motorhome and transfers it to the light at the back of your vehicle, so people behind you know your intentions when going down the road. And your supplemental braking system, which will apply the brakes in your vehicle when you hit them in your motorhome to help you come to a safe stop. Some additional components you may need are a high-low adapter, and this is just to ensure that you have a level tow bar when towing, because if your tow bar is at an angle that's extreme, it can pull up or down on your suspension, which can wear out those components prematurely. Having it level is going to ensure that it pulls it straight, so we're not going to be putting any stress on those components. A high-low adapter here will help us ensure we get it to that level. So to help you determine if you need a high-low adapter, you'll want to measure from the ground to the center of the receiver on your motorhome, and you'll want it to be within 3 inches of the height of the base plate on your Colorado. We've got the base plate installed here, so we're just going to go ahead and take a quick measurement so you can have that idea, and it's right at about 22 inches to the center of the attachment point on our base plate. So you want to try to get this as close to 22 as possible. Again, the rule of thumb is about 3 inches. So if you're at 25 or 19 inches on your motorhome, you're fine without a high-low. If you're above or below that, you'll want to get one to adapt it to raise it up to the appropriate position. And the last thing you'll need for your Colorado is a battery disconnect switch, which will allow you to easily disconnect the battery and power up your braking system components while doing so. We'll begin our installation underneath the vehicle on the driver's side here at the back. And underneath right here, just we're at the corner of the bumper here behind the wheel in this open area, this is our connector for our taillight assembly. So we can just reach down here, press the red tab out to unlock it, then press in on the release tab, and then we can disconnect our connector. Inside of here, we've got all the wiring for our lights. So there's several different colors in here. We've got gray, black, yellow, orange. We're going to be using the orange and the gray wire. So I've gone ahead and just kind of pulled those out because those are the ones we're going to be using. And what we want to do is cut these 2 wires in half. So we're just going to bring our cutters up there and just snip. Once you've got them cut in half, each end of the wires that we just cut there, we're going to strip those back. Now that we've got this side stripped back, we're going to take the diodes that come in our kit, and most of them are going to have the blue spade terminals on it. You're going to have one that has a yellow. We're not going to use the yellow yet, so go ahead and pull off 4 of the blue spade terminals, because we're going to connect a spade terminal to each one of the wires that we stripped back. So we're just going to grab those, and it's usually a little bit easier if you take the wires and give them a little twist. Just makes them slide in to the butt connectors a little easier without the strands wanting to bundle up on you. So then we're just going to slide our spade terminal into place, crimp it down, and we're just going to repeat for those remaining 3 wires there. Now that we've got spade terminals on each one of our wires here, we can start installing our diodes. Your diode's going to have 2 on the inside and 1 on the outside. You can see the labeling there. The out is always going to go towards the bulb that we're going to light up. So this connector goes to the vehicle. These wires here run up to the taillight assembly, so the bulbs are up there. So we're going to plug our single wire into one of these, our single terminal for the out, and we're just going to be reconnecting the colors that we had cut. So we plugged orange into one side. That means orange is going to go into the other side. And I'm going to do the same thing with our other diode here. Out is going to go towards the bulb, and then we're just going to be reconnecting our wires. And if you want, you can plug your assembly back in now. This just clicks right back together, just like that. We'll then repeat the exact same procedures we did on this side with the wires over on the other side. Your wire colors are going to be the same. We're going to be using the orange and the gray. We're now over on our passenger side, and you can see we've got our diodes connected over here just like we did on the driver's side. And we now need to start routing our harness into position and getting it hooked up. So this is one end of the harness you're going to get, and this is the longer harness. You're going to receive 2 of them. They're going to have different ends on it, so make sure you've got the one with the same end that you see here. So we're actually going to be cutting this end off, though. We don't need it for our application. We just want to make sure we're using the longer harness that comes in our kit. These kits are also available in ends that don't have 4 poles on them. So if you have a kit that doesn't have the 4 pole on it, you can skip this step. But if you do have the end with the 4 pole, we're going to be cutting off this 4 pole so we can make our attachments with this wire. So we're just going to trim all these off. And we're then going to take the yellow wire and we are going to strip it back along the inside here, because this is going to go over to the driver's side. So we're just going to peel that back. I've already routed it through some of the openings here going towards the driver's side. So we can go ahead and stop at this point. We can finish peeling it back when we go to make our connection over there. We just wanted to get this guy out of the way because we know that one's going to go over there. Over here on our passenger side, though, we're going to take the green, white, and brown wires and strip each of those back. And on your green and your brown wire, I recommend stripping just a little bit extra back on those because they're both going to be making the same connection, because we're going to be using a small portion of the white wire that comes in your kit to act as a jumper lead to get our taillight signal over to the other side. So now we've got those stripped back, we're going to take the white and the brown and we're going to twist those 2 together, because again we're going to be using a little bit of this white as our jumper. For the brown and white that we twisted together, we're going to be connecting our yellow spade terminal to that one, because the yellow one is designed for thicker gauge wires, and since we've got 2 wires twisted together, that increases their diameter, so it fits much better inside of this one. On your remaining one here, the green one, we're going to crimp a blue spade terminal on to that one. We can then connect them to our diodes. So we use the gray and the orange circuits, and I've got the two ends exposed here because these are going to plug into the inside because it's going to feed from our motorhome to our lights. Orange is going to be our taillight circuit, and gray is going to be the stoplight circuit. Our green wire is our stoplight and turn signal from the motorhome, so we're going to plug that into the end next to our gray wire. And our brown wire is our taillight circuit, so we're going to plug that in to the connector next to our orange wire. So on our driver's side now, we're over here. We brought our yellow wire over. And as we're following the wiring down, you can see here where I've been peeling that yellow wire back. We need the white wire jumper over to our diode over here. So I've already partially run this wire towards the front here, just kind of zip tying it to the factory wiring. We need to make sure we got enough length of white wire here to connect to the diodes. So right at about here, we can go ahead and cut the white wire. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut the zip tie that I put there. It was just a temporary to hold this up here. So we're just going to come up here now and cut only the white wire out of your harness. So just be careful not to cut the other wires. Cutting only the white. Once you've got it cut, you can actually just strip back the white wire. To make it easier to strip back, you can kind of fold it in half like this and then cut in between the white and the brown wire. That'll kind of give yourself a little head start there in peeling it back. And then we're just going to peel back some of that white wire. So now that we've got some of this white wire peeled back, we're just going to feed it on over towards our diodes. And now we've got our white and our yellow wire over here to the diodes where we need them to be. So our yellow wire, we can go ahead and trim off some of that excess. We don't need all that. So we're just going to get that little snip. And then we're going to strip back both the yellow and the white wire. Each of these are going to get a blue spade terminal once we get them stripped back. Now that we've got those connected, we can just push them onto the respective diode that they go to. So we know our orange is our taillight circuit, our white wire is our jumper from the brown wire, so we're going to plug that in here. So that's our taillight circuit. And then our yellow wire is going to plug into the diode that we've got gray wires attached to because it is our stop turn over here on this side. And what I like about hooking this up down here at the bottom by our connector is that both of the lights should work on each side because there's actually an upper and a lower bulb for your stop and your turn. And if you were to make a connection back behind the light assembly, you'd likely only have one of those working on each side. But down here, we're going to power up both of those. So at this point now, there are adhesive backings on the back of your diode. So you can take those off and stick them to the paneling here or wherever you'd like. It is pretty dirty, so I'm going to make sure that I clean up that area with a little bit of alcohol so we get good adhesion. Okay. Once you've got it all cleaned up, we can just take our diodes, peel off that backing cover, and just stick them in place. We'll then do the same thing with our other diode here. Now that we've got all of our diodes connected on each side, we're going to continue running our wire towards the front of the vehicle, but we also have that other end of the white wire here where we had cut. And the rest of this white wire is going to go up to the front. But here at the back, where we've got it cut here, we need to connect this to ground. So we're going to go ahead and just strip back the end of the wire here. So we're just going to reach up in there and strip that off of there. We can then take the small ring terminal that comes included with your kit, and we're going to crimp that on to that white wire. Now that we've got that on there, this just needs to attach to a metal surface to get ground, and we're just going to be running it into this cross beam right here. As if we look on the other side, there's nothing there, so we don't have to worry about drilling into anything. So now we're just going to take our self-tapping screw, slide it through our ring terminal. We're then just going to line this up onto the metal surface, and run it right into place. And then you just want to make sure it's nice and snug. And if it is, we're then just going to continue routing our wiring towards the front. So we're going to just follow down the frame rail here, following our factory wiring. When routing your wiring, you want to make sure you avoid anything moving, such as your suspension and steering components, and anything excessively hot like your exhaust. We stay down to the frame until we hit our fuel tank here. From there, right here at the first strap, we do stay next to the fuel tank, going above that strap. But when we get towards our second strap right here, just in front of our leaf spring, there's a hole in the frame, and we go ahead and poke it into the hole in that frame so we can come out on the other side. And here when we come out on the other side, we're going to follow down the outside of the frame rail. And once we can get right through here, we're going to go back up because we've got our factory wiring there again that we can zip tie it to. And we're just going to follow that factory wiring on top of the frame rail, going all the way forward. It does dip down here on the side, so we just follow right along next to it, zip tying it along the way. Once we get up here to the front, just behind our rear tire, there is another hole in the frame here, and we're going to poke it inside this hole. This time though, instead of going straight through to the other side, we stay inside the frame rail all the way up towards the front, which is pretty much just right here on the other side of our tire. It's not too far, and if you need to, you can use a coat hanger to kind of push down inside of the frame there and attach your wire to it and pull it back through. It comes out of the frame right here, just in front of the tire, so it's not too long of a run, just the distance of your tire. And from here, we go just above the frame, right next to this mount here, and then we come out in the front to where we are right on top of our base plate there. Now that we've got our wiring routed up here to the front, we can go ahead and connect it now, but if we connect it now, when you go to put your fascia back on, if you had just put your base plate on, the connector is going to be in the way and you're likely going to have to remove it. So I'm going to go ahead and reinstall the fascia, and then we're going to show you how to connect your wiring here to your connector at the front. So here we've got our fascia back in place. We've got our wire run through where we're going to be mounting it here. So we've got some excess. We can go ahead and cut that off. I do like to leave some excess because if you're going to be adding any additional accessories or if you need to make any repairs, you can't really do it back here, so you're going to need to be able to pull this connector out to access it. So we're just going to trim it off at about this point. And once we've got it trimmed, we're going to separate each one of these wires. So we can do that by just snipping right in between them. And once you've got each one cut, you can peel them back just so we got a little bit more to work with there. Once you've got them all peeled back, we're going to strip each end. And what you can do before you strip them, to make it a little easier, we can slide our rubber on there. That'll just keep the wires from catching on it. So we're just going to poke that guy up in there, and we're going to strip each one. Now that we've got each one stripped, we're just going to twist those to make them poke into our connector a little easier. So we don't want any loose strands. It's particularly important with this we don't have loose strands because it could cause a short between one circuit to another. And now we can come to our connector here and start attaching everything. So we want to find all of our points that we're going to be using. They are labeled on here. They are a little hard to see, but we can see this one here says RT, which is right turn. So we're going to be using that one. That's our green wire. The next one says LT, which is left turn. That's our yellow wire. So we're going to go ahead and open up that one. The next one is GD, which is ground, and that's our white wire. We go around, we have TM, and that's our taillight circuit, which is our brown wire. The remaining ones we have here is our S, which is an auxiliary circuit, and we have our center pin, which we're not going to use either. So we've got two extra pins that we could add additional accessories, like a charge line kit or monitor lights, and we've got those available here at eTrailer.com. So we're just going to poke those wires in those holes and then tighten them back down. So we're just going to go ahead and go back to this first one here, which is right turn. That was our green. So it just slides right in the opening hole there, and then we tighten it down. And it's good to just double check to make sure you didn't get any loose strands, because if one strand happens to touch any of these other ones, you can have some weird things happen, potentially open up some fuses. And we're just going to work our way around. Next one was left turn, which is our yellow. And next is our ground, GD, which is white. And then last, we only have the brown wire left, and that's the circuit labeled TM there. Now that we've got everything connected, to ensure that our connections stay rust and corrosion free, we're going to use some dielectric grease, and we're going to apply a nice generous coating to the back side of this because we want to keep all that moisture out of here. We want this to last as long as possible. Then we can bring our dust boot on, put it in place, and what I like to do is take some electrical tape now and just seal up each end. So we're just going to run a piece over this. And then we'll do the same thing here on the back side. We can now go ahead and mount it in its mounting location. For ours, we have a bracket that we put there that holds part of our braking system components. So we're just going to remove those screws. These come included with our base plate, and it attaches directly to the base plate. So we'll just take those out. We can then slide this guy back in, make sure it's facing the appropriate direction. And then we'll just run the hardware through both the bracket and the switch, line those back up, and then just reinstall them. We can now test everything out, and you can plug this right into your motor home and then operate your turn and brake signals to do so. I've got our tester here we plugged in, and you want to make sure you got your tail lights, left turn signal, right turn signal, and brake lamps. And with everything working properly, we can go back through and zip tie up any of the loose wiring we have, and we're ready to hit the road. And that completes our installation of Roadmaster's diode wiring kit on our 2020 Chevrolet Colorado.